Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. I never imagined that a single evening could unravel the life I thought was steady, that the quiet rhythm of my marriage could be shattered by just a few words. My name is Daniel. I'm 38, and I've been married to Claire for 12 years. On the surface, we had everything people admire. 2 kids, a cozy suburban house, weekend routines, and what I always thought was a bond stronger than most. But beneath it all, I hadn't realized how fragile the balance truly was. It started on a Wednesday night. Claire had been acting slightly distracted for weeks, something I tried to ignore, chalking it up to work stress or the never-ending swirl of family responsibilities. But that evening, she seemed particularly distant. The kids were asleep, the house quiet, and we were finally alone in the living room. I was folding laundry, trying to maintain the mundane rhythm that somehow kept life afloat. When she spoke, her voice hesitant, almost rehearsed. "Daniel, I need to tell you something," she said, sitting stiffly on the sofa. I stopped folding, sensing the weight behind her words. She rarely spoke like this. My heart thumped, a knot forming in my stomach. "What is it?" I asked calmly, though a flicker of dread ran through me. I spent a night with someone else," she said. The words fell into the room like a hammer striking glass. I froze. My mind raced, trying to process the syllables, each repeating in a loop that refused to make sense. What do you mean?" I asked, my voice steady, but my chest tightened. Claire looked down, avoiding my gaze. It was just one night, with my dream man. I didn't plan for it to happen, but it did. And I needed to tell you. I took a deep breath, a long, slow inhale, as if drawing air into my lungs could anchor me against a tidal wave of disbelief threatening to pull me under. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't even shake. I just stood there, folding the laundry I had been holding, the rhythm of my hands mechanically maintaining normalcy even as my world tilted. For a moment, she watched me, almost expecting some explosive reaction. I could see the worry etched into her features, the unspoken hope that my anger would erupt. But nothing did. I placed the last folded shirt on the pile, set it gently on the sofa beside her, and simply said, "I see." She blinked, confusion passing across her face. "That's it? That's all you're going to say?" "Yes," I said quietly. "That's all I'm going to say right now." The silence stretched between us. It was thick, heavy, almost tangible. Not the silence of peace, but the silence that comes from a fracture in reality. The quiet that follows a bombshell you never expected to explode in your living room. I thought you should know," Claire continued. "I didn't want to keep secrets. It's over, and it meant nothing, at least not in the way you think." I nodded slowly, still folding my hands in front of me. "You told me. Thank you for your honesty. That's all I needed to hear for now." Her brow furrowed. "Daniel, are you going to leave me?" I shook my head. "No. Not tonight. Not like this. But things have changed. And we need to face that, honestly, if we're going to move forward." She looked away, biting her lip, and I realized that the power of her actions hadn't destroyed me. It had clarified something deeper. I wasn't going to react with rage or humiliation. Instead, I would respond with clarity, with the kind of emotional control that doesn't need drama to assert itself. Over the next few hours, we talked. Not about who, not about when, not about the fleeting sparks of infatuation she chased. We spoke in fragments, stilted, careful words, circling the real issue like wary predators. What did this mean for us? For our marriage? For the future of the home we built together? She wanted forgiveness, I realized, but I needed understanding first, not just of her actions, but of what they revealed about the fragile foundation of our relationship. By midnight, the conversation had exhausted us. She went to bed, and I stayed in the living room, staring at the muted glow of the television. I wasn't angry, though my mind was a storm of questions. Instead, I felt something sharper, clarity. The marriage I believed unshakable was suddenly transparent, all pretense stripped away. I knew now that my reactions would define the rest of my life more than her choices ever could. It was in that quiet, still night that I decided something pivotal. I wouldn't chase illusions. I wouldn't beg for fleeting affection or settle for half-truths. I would respond, not with vengeance, but with an unwavering calm that carried the weight of someone who had finally seen the truth. And I knew that come morning, everything would change, not because I shouted, not because I threatened, not because I made a scene, but because I had chosen to own my reaction, to take control of my story, even when it had been interrupted in the most unexpected, devastating way. Morning came like any other, soft and quiet, but I didn't move immediately. The sun's light filtered through the curtains, yet the warmth it usually brought felt hollow, distant. Claire was still asleep, her breathing steady, rhythmic, a reminder of the life we had shared. I watched her for a moment longer, feeling neither anger nor grief, only an acute awareness that everything had shifted. I finally got up, dressed, and made my way to the kitchen. Coffee was essential, though the routine felt almost ceremonial, a bridge between yesterday's chaos and today's reality. My mind wandered, replaying conversation, her words echoing in slow, deliberate pulses. It was just one night, with my dream man. It meant nothing. It was strange, but I didn't feel the urge to confront her again. Instead, I began considering the practical implications, the choices that lay ahead. I could feel a quiet power settling in me, a knowledge that my reaction now would shape the rest of our lives far more than her fleeting indiscretion. By mid-morning, Claire emerged from the bedroom, brushing her hair and adjusting her robe. She gave me a tentative smile, perhaps expecting another explosion of emotion. I looked at her, calm, measured, almost unnervingly so. "Morning," I said simply. No heat, no accusation, just the clarity I had carried through the night. "Daniel, can we talk?" she asked, voice trembling slightly. "Yes," I replied, "but I think we both need to understand the full truth first, not just about last night, but about what it means for us." She hesitated, then nodded, and we sat at the small kitchen table. The children were still asleep upstairs, the quiet making the conversation intimate yet painfully raw. "I don't know why I did it," Claire admitted, staring at her hands. "I don't know if it was excitement, longing, or just curiosity. I never meant to hurt you." I listened, letting her speak without interruption, though every word was sharp, slicing through the illusion I had lived in. When she paused, I finally spoke. "It doesn't matter why. What matters is what we do next. We can't pretend this didn't happen, and we can't continue as if everything is normal. You chose this night, and I choose my reaction. That's what defines me now." Her lips parted, eyes wide, as if expecting some immediate retaliation. But I didn't give her that. I didn't yell. I didn't beg or plead. I simply said, "I need space to think, to process this fully. And I want honesty from you, no excuses, no deflections." For the next few hours, I walked the neighborhood, letting my thoughts unravel and reweave themselves. The betrayal had stung, but strangely, the power wasn't in the hurt. It was in the clarity it provided. I realized that I had spent years trying to shape a perfect life, a flawless marriage, and somewhere along the way, I had neglected to confront the uncomfortable truths. This was my opportunity, not to punish her, but to reclaim my own life. When I returned home, Claire was waiting, tension radiating from her posture. "Have you decided what you want?" she asked. I sat down, eyes locked on hers. "I want honesty, commitment, and trust. And if those things can't be rebuilt, then I want my life back, peacefully, without chaos, without drama. I can't live in a marriage where I'm only partially seen, partially valued." That night made that painfully clear. She seemed shocked, but I didn't waver. My words were calm, deliberate, final. I wasn't seeking forgiveness, and I wasn't looking for pity. I was asserting boundaries, defining limits. The next days were surreal. We spoke, sometimes in brief bursts, sometimes at length, but always with the unspoken understanding that the old rhythm was gone. Claire expressed remorse, but I realized remorse alone couldn't fix the fracture. I made a decision, one that surprised even me. I wouldn't leave in anger, nor would I punish. I would step back, allow space for reflection, and determine my next steps with clarity, not emotion. Weeks passed. The tension eased, replaced by a strange, cautious normalcy. I focused on work, the children, and reclaiming the small joys that had quietly slipped away. Claire and I found a fragile equilibrium, one based not on illusions, but on reality. There was no grand reconciliation, no passionate declarations, only a mutual understanding of boundaries, respect, and the consequences of our choices. And then, one evening, months later, Claire approached me again. "Daniel," she said softly, "I've realized a lot about myself, about us." I nodded, listening. "I've realized a lot about myself, too," I replied. She paused, searching for words. "I made a mistake. I hurt you. I want to try if you'll let me." I studied her for a moment, seeing the vulnerability beneath the guilt, the longing beneath the fear. And in that moment, I understood something profound. My reaction had shifted the balance entirely. I hadn't screamed, I hadn't begged, and I hadn't shattered myself in anger. Instead, I had preserved my dignity, my clarity, and my power to choose. "I'll think about it," I said finally, not a refusal, not an acceptance, just a clear, deliberate statement. That night, I slept with peace, knowing that whatever happened next, I'd already won something far more valuable than anger or revenge. Control over my own life, my own choices, and my own story. Because sometimes, the most shocking moments don't require dramatic outbursts. Sometimes, the calmest reaction, the one rooted in clarity, dignity, and self-respect, changes everything.